Hi, this is Tim from Sound Effects Music in Ormskirk. Just got back from the PRS Experience 2013. Some great stuff going on, so we'll have lots of videos and Facebook updates on that. We just want to show you now a really good factory tour by Jack Higginbotham, the president of PRS, on the new S2 line. And it was really quite insightful to see how these guitars are made compared to, say, the core line. And he speaks really well and goes in a lot of detail just about how these guitars are made. Anyway, a bit less than me. Watch this, really interesting.
Probably the most coordinated thing that we've done as a business. And it's exciting to us because, in my opinion, what this does is it gives us the ability to open up a new customer, be attractive to a new type of band, and to even open up new dealers or be very valid to a different type of a dealer base. So we have had a very successful business. We've had almost 30 years of a wonderful run, but we're always looking for ways to be relevant to a new crowd and looking for new ways to expand our business and to offer a new tool for a guitar player that we haven't been able to offer them before. The SE project was like that for us. 12 years ago, Carlos Santana basically asked us to come up with a way that we could provide a guitar to the guitar players that had his name on it that a kid could afford. And we at first couldn't figure out how to do that, but he kept challenging us to do that, and through his insistence, that's where the SE project came. So the S2 obviously is right in the middle. You have the SE here, and you have our core manufacturing is what you see over there. If you've never been to this factory before, that's where all of the solid body electric guitars are made. It's from that line on. That's our wood shop. The S2 line, and that's our private stock cell over there. But the S2 is all over here. So you're really here at the very beginning of this project. This will expand over time to take up the other half of this factory. So it's kind of neat that you're here sort of at the beginning of this, and you can come back in years to come and see how that's changed over time. And as you know, this has been very popular. We're more back-ordered than we wish we were at this point, but we're working very hard to get our manufacturing numbers up high enough to where we can supply your customers as quickly as you want to supply them. So we're working on that. So what makes an S2 guitar, in our opinion, we had to make that guitar for roughly 1/3 the cost. And then that means we have to make it in 1/3 the time. But what we can't do is make any compromises in the way the guitar is built or the functionality of the guitar. So the way that we do that is through a different manufacturing process. We do it through limited SKUs. There aren't 200,000 SKUs of these guitars like you'll find inside of our core or certainly inside of our private stock. We run very, very efficiently. There's 3 models, 7 colors, 1 bridge configuration, and that's how we can run very efficiently and keep it simple. So also there's some construction techniques that are different inside of the S2. So if we just sort of wander this way just a little bit, you can see and if you've seen the way we build guitars, we use what's 12-quarter mahogany, which I don't have a piece here, but it's a piece of mahogany neck blank that's that thick. It's 3 inches thick. And we take that and we dry it and we carve it and we mold it and we form it, and that's what one of our core guitars, our wood library guitars, or our private stock guitars are made from. Yeah. Inside of S2, we use a much thinner material. And you can see that this is a neck blank. It doesn't look like a core PRS neck blank at this point. We're able to use a much thinner piece of wood at the beginning of the process. We scarf the headstock onto the end of it. So this machine that's sitting right behind you is actually a very accurate crosscut saw. So you can put your neck blank in there, the blade comes up, and it cuts this headstock at a perfect angle. You flip it around and glue it together in these clamps. Now, I believe you'll have customers say, isn't that a compromise? That doesn't look as strong as a one-piece neck blank. I've been building things out of wood for a long time, and here's the truth about wood. Glue is stronger than wood. Glue will break far later than a piece of wood will break. It's also very, very stable because we start with a thinner piece of wood. It's a very high quality piece of wood. It's quarter sawn mahogany. It dries very quickly, it acclimates very quickly, and it doesn't move very much through the manufacturing process, so it stays very stable, which we love. The fretting process is a little bit different. What we're doing is actually fretting the fingerboard before it goes onto the neck. And there's a lot of speed advantages in doing this. It's much, much faster than the way we do it in core, which is laminate the fretboard on, round the fretboard, and then fret the guitar. This is a much quicker way of doing it. And there's actually a few steps in the process that we haven't implemented yet that will make it even faster. So this is a major thing that we do. The limited SKUs is a major thing we do as far as making the guitar a little bit faster. If you'll just kind of move on in a little bit more, maybe kind of head into that area. So you've seen the Miras and the Starlas and the custom S2s that we've made. This is our clamping fixture that we use to glue a fingerboard and a neck together. Very similar, if you've been through that part of our factory, it's very similar to the way we do it. We use compressed air in a fire hose, basically, that runs in a serpentine fashion. When you compress it, it draws two neck blanks together and forms a glue joint between the fretboard and the neck. The cool thing about this is it's 100% coverage all the way down the neck, so you don't have a glue line, you don't see where clamps were clamped, it's all the way across and it's very even. So that's another way that we do. If you look at this table as you walk by, actually, let me scoot through. Here is what we start with our core manufacturing. This is that piece of 12 quarter I was talking about. This is where we start on an S2. So it's much less material, much faster to dry, and very, very stable. This is the headstock, and this is the neck. So you flip it, and you've got the correct angle. You cut it, and you flip it, and that's how we pull that up. So at the very beginning of the process, here's our 12 quarter, and at the very beginning of the process with S2, here's our neck blank. All right? The rest of the process is very similar to our other manufacturing. We do truss rod slots, rod slot inserts, the leveling process, and the shaping process. One thing that's different is we glue on a scab for the heel, and again, it's very, very strong here, stronger than the wood is itself. And by the time you're done, you have the fretted fretboard, the same location pins that we use on the core guitar, lines up, goes into that fixture, and the neck blank comes out. Our carve programs are the very same programs we use on the core guitars, so the neck feels exactly the same from a shape standpoint. It's just, like I said, the trick for us is to make a guitar in 1/3 the time. So moving on to bodies, they do look pretty similar in their very rough form. Like with many of our core guitars, like a core custom, you have a mahogany back and you have a book match top. The top is essentially half of one of our tops. If you took this and another one of these, that's what a custom guitar is made out of. We take that top and cut the half in half, so to speak, and that's where we get our book match for S2. So we save a lot of materials there. And it's also much faster to dry because it's a thinner piece of wood. Then it moves to the body blank, very similar to our core guitars, laminated, barcode. If you have this on order and I scan this, your name's going to come up. So that's how we track your orders inside of the factory. Every guitar has a unique barcode attached to it, and if you scan this, it gives you all of the information. No matter what type of instrument we have, it's going to tell you who the owner is, who the customer is, who the buyer is. It's going to tell you what the color is, what the pickup options are, what the neck shape is. Every detail lives inside of this. Then here's where a big change happens, where on our custom 24, it has a full violin carve. It's a very deep, very beautiful full violin carve. It takes a long time to carve that thing. Because it's so complicated and there's so many compound radiuses on it, it is an art form to actually sand it. It takes a lot of time and a lot of experience to do that very well. With the S2, it's a much more simple shape. So it's essentially a flat top with a bevel instead of a very complicated. So it literally takes 1/3 of the time to sand this guitar. And if you think about it, finishing the guitar, which we have some guitars in the finishing process over there, is even more critical, because if you have a simple guitar to sand, it's one thing to sand it in the wood shop. To be able to send it through the finish system on one pass instead of having a reject rate where you burned a little bit because it was a sharp edge, that's what kills us in the finish room. So this guitar has been designed to go through the finish process one time. So it's very quick to sand, it's very quick to finish, but it's also very attractive to look at. It has a contour and it's very pretty to look at. So our finish system is basically, if you go back before we had our V12 program, the finish system is very, very similar to our original PRS polyester acrylic urethane finish. It's almost going back to that finish system with just a couple of exceptions, but it's very, you can, when you're talking to customers, you can basically say, you know, that's what it is. It's the finish system from the 90s, basically. That's what it is that we have readopted inside of this series. So you can see they're very simple, but they're very beautiful. They're well made. The gluing process of combining the neck and the body is identical to our core. The angles are slightly different because of the configurations of the guitars. The neck angles are a little bit different, but the process is exactly the same. So then, if we walk over this way, and these are the machines that do all of the cutting. One thing that we do inside of PRS, again, if you've never been here, this is a good example. These are things you can't buy. So we build a lot of our machines. These machines are actually made for cutting metal. We reconfigured the spindles to run at the correct RPM, and we reconfigured the tool holders to hold woodworking tools, and we have turned metalworking tools into woodworking tools. Because, as you probably know, metalworking is measured in tenths of a thousandth of a millimeter. It's very, very fine work. And we build guitars, we hold basically metal tolerances with wood. Our neck joints are, you know, our phrase is plus or minus a thousandth of an inch. A human hair is about 4/1000ths of an inch thick. We hold 1/1000th of an inch on our neck joints. And there is not a woodworking machine that will do that, really. So we took metalworking machines and turned them into woodworking machines. Also, there are no fixtures that are made to be able to make these guitars. So we've designed all of our own fixtures, and we make all of our own fixtures. And the cool thing about that is we have complete control over what the design process is. We can do whatever we want to. We can build the tools. We don't have to see what's available in the market. We do all of this stuff. And over here, you basically see the finished process over here. So you have the neck blank and the body that have been glued together. We have our grain fill and stain process, where we use a paste grain filler and a stain. Oddly enough, we do not use UV inside of this project. Even though that is a faster way to do a lot of things, we don't incorporate UV finishing inside of this project. It's all pretty old school. And we tone it if it gets a toner on it here. This is our base coat, so polyester base coat is on it. And for me, I was production manager here in the 90s, so this is a very familiar looking thing to me. I made thousands of these things. So polyester base coat, then we sand it, and we prepare it for clear, so it's called prep. So this is what a sanded guitar looks like before it has its clear coat on it. One thing that's different is we put the toner sunburst underneath the polyester base coat instead of on top of it. That is one huge difference, and another way that we save some time on these guitars. Then we have clear coat acrylic urethane, wet sand and buff, and then a finished guitar. The last place, or another place, that we save a considerable amount of time and money is in the electronics of the guitar. So, like I said, this is the same carve program on the neck as any guitar that we make inside of here. The fit and finish is very, very similar to any guitar we make in here. They are proprietary tuning pegs, but different tuning pegs. The pickguard assemblies come in already loaded from Korea. So that is one place that we save a considerable amount of time and a considerable amount of money. And what we end up receiving, this is a Mira pickguard as we receive it. And this is a Starla pickguard as we receive it. Now the one thing I'd say, even though we receive these parts, Paul Smith spent an enormous amount of time approving these pickups. Just like with our SE guitars, we don't just get things off the shelf. There's a lot of back and forth that goes between us and the manufacturer in Korea to get a guitar to sound exactly like we want it to sound. So although it isn't manufactured in this building, this is proprietary and it's to our specs. Another thing that we do every Friday is Paul, myself, and another group of managers and quality control get in a room and we randomly pull guitars out of cases and we play and we look them over completely and look for problems. So this project has its own meeting. Since it's new, we come in, we open them up every week, we look at the guitars and we make sure that we're keeping an eye on everything, particularly at the beginning of it. So I hope that if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I think I can answer most of them. If I can't, I can find somebody that could. Through the weekend, this area will be open with all the guys that actually build these guitars, and you can talk to them individually if you like as well. And everybody here is very excited about this project. I hope you guys are too. It's been, it really has been a couple of years of a lot of effort to get this thing launched, and so and it's already been a very positive impact to the business. So we're very happy with it. So does anybody have any questions off the bat? Anything? If not, thank you very much. Appreciate your time, and come back once they're running product demonstrations over here next tomorrow and Saturday. Feel free to come back. Thank you very much. Thank you.